Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 149 here on season 1. And today we are getting into ETFs and stop losses. So this question comes from A_Grizzly, and he asks, is it a good idea to set a stop loss on ETFs or just buy more when they dip? And this actual question is from my other video, which is what is a stop loss? And so it's actually like a pretty good question because especially like with Stash and Acorns, it's impossible to set a stop loss through the actual platform, but on Robinhood you can set a stop loss. And so it's actually a really good question, and my personal opinion might be more unorthodox or something along those lines. So first of all, the answer to this question really depends on your personal investing / trading strategy. Because the real answer, to be honest, is both. It's a good idea to set a stop loss, and it's also a great idea to buy ETFs when they dip. A stop loss is great because it can help you preserve your assets. So say you want to limit your losses to about 10% on a stock, or an ETF, then it's great for that. But if you set that stop loss too tight, you leave a lot of potential earnings on the table. So say an ETF was to drop 10% and you got stopped out, and then whatever the next year or whatever it ran up 50%, you would never, you wouldn't be able to get back into it or whatever. I mean, you could always get back into it, but you might be missing out on buying a dip or something like that. And then also buying a dip is great because you buy it at a lower price, which helps increase your upside or increase your profits. However, if the ETF continues to dip, then you're losing more money because you're getting more invested, have more shares, and you can potentially lose more money. So there's two sides to like every single coin. And I wish that the stock market honestly was more clear cut and like potentially like A plus B always equals C. However, it's not like that. The market is a lot of gray, and so it's like in one case this might be the best idea, in another case this might be the best idea. And so to put necessary like everything in black and white and be like, is it a good idea, is it a bad idea, it's really hard to say that. In this case it could be a good idea, in this case it could be an extremely bad idea. And so just to be a little bit transparent, I personally don't set stop losses on my ETFs. I don't set stop losses on my long-term stocks, and I don't set stop losses on my dividend-paying stocks. I only use stop losses on my swing trades that I get into, and this is because they're going to be a lot more volatile because I'm trying to get a quick spike and then I'm trying to get out. And so if I don't get a quick spike, typically you're going to get a quick loss, and so you want to have a nice stop loss as protection in case the actual swing stock doesn't spike like you thought it would. So basically all that to say that I'm going to be a person that leans more towards buying the dip. And that's the way that all my portfolios, all my accounts are set up, whether it be on Acorns, on Stash, or on Robinhood. By the way, Acorns buys the dips automatically. They don't have a stop loss. Stash, you can buy the dips if you want, or you can do a stop loss, but in the actual program you can't set it up to have a stop loss or anything like that. And then on Robinhood, like I already said, you can have a stop loss, but the way that my account on Robinhood is set up is it's based upon percentages. And so if a certain like long-term stock drops, that means that I can buy more into that certain portion of my account. And so thus I would just buy more, maybe not of that same. If it was an ETF, I would probably try to buy more of that ETF, or I would look at diversifying and buying a different ETF also. So everything's kind of up in the air for me. However, if I was to start setting stop losses, which if and when I do, I do plan on it eventually, I just haven't really like put a whole lot of time and effort into what a proper stop loss on my long-term stocks would be. And so if I was, right now it would be an extremely loose stop loss. I would probably set it around 50% of what my entry price was. So say if it was, I don't know, I bought an ETF at $100, I would have a stop loss at $50. And that's because like I said, I really want to buy the dips, and since I'm depositing money in there, I can buy the dips a lot easier. Where if I was just an account that wasn't getting any more deposits, I might have a tighter stop loss, so that way I don't lose out on a whole lot of money, or leave a whole lot of money in someone else's account and not in my own. And then I would also probably consider setting a trailing stop loss, and I haven't really talked about what that is, but that's definitely something I'm going to talk about on a different episode. But for you personally, what I would recommend is you need to audit yourself, and you need to kind of here's what I would recommend is, because people don't get concerned about like $100. Like losing $100 is not too much of a loss, but like I like to use a big number that's more realistic, and so I would recommend comparing yourself to like $100,000. Would you be okay with losing half of that? So if you were $100,000 invested into an ETF and it dropped down to $500,000 or dropped down to $50,000, would you be okay with that? And could you stomach it? And if the answer is no, then you have to set a higher stop loss than that. So then I would bump it up maybe to 25% and be like, well, if it dropped to $75,000, would you be okay? Would you be able to stomach that and be like, okay, well, it hit 75,000. That's okay, because like I can still stomach that. And if the answer is still no, then you need to go higher, maybe like 20%, 15%, 10%. And at what point do you say like, I can stomach that? That's okay if I lose that much money. It's fine. Like at that point, then I would set my stop loss there. And for me, because of the long-term trades and because I'm buying the dips, I'm not too concerned about ETF going down. Typically, ETFs, if there is a drop, they will change the way that their ETF is, change the different holdings of different companies and that kind of stuff to help them return back up. And typically, with long-term investments, you're looking at a overall stock market increase year over year with dips here and there. So I'm not too concerned. But definitely, like I said in the beginning, both are really good to do. And both of them are going to be hard. It's going to be hard to buy a dip because you don't really know when the dip is happening. I mean, you can look at a stock and be like, it's trading lower, but does that mean the dip's going to continue to go down, so I'm not going to be able to buy at the bottom? And so that's why you got to have the right account set up and the right principles set up. And that's why for a beginning investor, I like Acorns, because Acorns is going to buy at a 5% drop. They're going to buy more into that certain ETF. And if it goes up by 5%, then they're going to sell that certain ETF and distribute it back across the entire portfolio, which is like 5 or 6 different ETFs. So definitely rebalancing and that kind of stuff is great on the account. So I would recommend, yes, setting a stop loss at some point and also buying the dips. But you got to be cautious in everything that you do on the stock market and have a plan. Always have a plan. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the question of the day, and that is, why is there an expiration date on sour cream? And that's because sour cream eventually goes moldy after the expiration date. So they have to put that on there so you're not eating bad sour cream. Duh. Anyways, that ends it. If you guys have any questions regarding Stash, Acorns, or Robinhood, as well as general investing advice, business, Etsy, or coaching, feel free to post those questions down below, and I will try my best to get them on the next episode. And until next time, don't forget to subscribe up here and check out my video on what is a stop loss. Check out this other video right here. And as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.